It's called reminders. Oh my God, it never stops reminding me.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order for November 30th, 2016. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Shriver.
Here.
DePlacido.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Spiegelman.
Here.
Kalinowski.
Here.
Thank you. Now we'll have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 2nd, 2016 Public Safety Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any corrections from anybody? No additions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we'll move right on to the Police Department report. Chief Kelly.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, a few things to report to you tonight. The first thing I wanted to tell you is obviously it's a very busy time. As all of you know, we've got the Keswick Festival on Friday night, on Saturday the Roslyn party. Also, we have the Ardsley one on Saturday night and a bunch of other things coming up. So a lot of activities that I'm sure some of the commissioners will be talking about in other meetings later on today, so I won't belabor it, but just certainly a very busy time. A couple other things have been going on as we just completed the sergeant's promotional testing, and you'll be hearing more about that after the Civil Service Commission certifies the list, because we have one opening now, and we're going to be having several more in the near future. There are some rumors that someone in the department is going to be retiring in the near future, so it's going to be causing an opening, and that'll be filled by one of those sergeants moving up. And so that's going on. And the lieutenant's test, the lieutenant's promotional exam, is scheduled for January, and so that'll be happening as well. I also wanted to tell you about two arrests that occurred just this week. The one happened just today. We've had a number of thefts from mailboxes in the Rydell and Meadowbrook area over the last week or so. And we, matter of fact, had a big meeting earlier today, got everybody together to talk about how we're going to get this information out to the citizens and how we're going to address it and so on. And fortunately, before everything was put into place, one of our officers did an outstanding job, was working on undercover surveillance, spotted it's a total of four, three of them youths, and one of them 18 years old, and made the arrest, and they did get a confession from the adult, and as a result, that crime trend has been stopped in its tracks, and I'm happy to report that because that's certainly good news. There's a lot of things we do want to encourage all of our citizens, though, to be mindful of the fact that during this time of year there is so much that is being sent out as far as goods and cash and checks and things like that, to be very careful about picking up your mail out of your mailbox as promptly as you can, and to not be leaving things out. And also that when you're sending stuff out through the mail, we really strongly suggest you don't put your flag up to indicate that there's something in there to go out, because obviously it's a sign to the mailman, but it's also a sign to anybody that's looking to take anything else out of there. So just stay careful. And finally, a kind of important one that I wanted to talk to you about. You're probably aware, you've been watching the news and seeing that for the first time in about 20 years, major crime is starting to go back up in the United States. Certainly violent crime, homicides, especially in the big cities, and it's something that obviously is a major concern to everyone. And some of the experts out there are attributing some of this increase to what is being called the Ferguson effect, the fact that, especially in some cities, in some major cities, the police are afraid to be out there doing the job for a variety of reasons, both the danger to them, but also the fear that if they try to do their job, they won't be backed up. And I could assure you that that's not happening here in Abington, but I think this next story depicts that far better than any words that I could say. And that is that we had a pizza driver robbed the other night. He went to a delivery. They said, no, we didn't order the pizza. He's walking back to his vehicle, and he's accosted by several males, one with a gun. who says, "Give us your money." And before he gives up his $150, a scuffle ensues, and they really beat him up pretty bad and tell him if he doesn't stop, they're going to shoot him and take his money. We searched the area, of course, like normal, unable to find the suspects. Hours and hours later, one of the officers is on patrol, and he sees a couple of males generally matching the description, but none of the clothes are the same. So obviously, you certainly don't have a probable cause to make a stop on something like that. But he engages them in a casual conversation, and one thing leads to another, and talks to them. And one of them has a cell phone in his hand, and so he talks to him and somehow gets him to tell him his cell phone number. So he gives that to headquarters, and headquarters calls the dispatch, and one thing leads to another. And guess what? That cell phone is the one that called the pizza shop and ordered the pizza. So they took these dangerous gentlemen off of the street on a case where you're obviously talking about stopping some males that don't match the description exactly, because the clothing is totally different. They had obviously changed their clothes in the meantime because it was hours later. They was in the same general area, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot to go on. And but you're dealing with a stop where he's going and making a stop of some people who clearly have resorted already to violence earlier that night and who are armed with a gun. But he still did it, and because that's what officers do, and made an outstanding arrest, and as a result got them off the street. And I just want to tell you that because not only was it a great job by the officer, but I think it should reassure anybody that wonders, are our officers out there and doing the job? And I don't think there's any question about that. Both these examples certainly show that. But I also want to tell you that it's also a tribute to the board and the community that we have, because our officers obviously feel supported, and they feel like we have their back, and they feel like they can go out there and do the job, and know that as long as they're doing the job right and in the correct way, in good faith, that we're going to support them as we always have. And so that's something that they deserve a lot of credit, but so does the board and so does our community. And I just want to share that with you tonight. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And I want to welcome Battalion Chief Anthony McGrail here. Who, do you have a report at all? I know Rich could make it.
The report was submitted by Assistant Chief Rich Garrett.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to our regularly scheduled agenda here with PS1. Motion to adopt ordinance number 2128, amending Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 14, Stop Intersections, and Article 3, Parking Regulations, Sections 25, Parking prohibited at all times, no parking between signs, no parking here to corner, parking prohibited except certain hours, no stopping or standing at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners on December 8th, 2016 at 7:30 p.m., and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from commissioners, staff, audience? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. PS2 is a motion to advertise ordinance number 2132, amending Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking Regulations, Section 28, Special Purpose Parking Zones for adoption at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners on January 12, 2017 at 7:30 p.m., and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments from commissioners, staff, or audience? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And PS3 is a motion to approve the installation of 2 flashing warning lights in the 200-300 block of Shellmeyer Street in both the eastbound and westbound direction for a total amount of $5,000 to be paid out of account number 0313-146-5304, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner De Placido.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple quick comments. This is a much-needed measure. I want to thank Officer Freed for coming out with me and visiting with the neighbors and that Shellmeyer curve at least 5 or 6 times in the past 2 years. Since I've been commissioner for 3 years now, I think we've replaced 3 telephone poles, at least 100 feet of fencing that surrounds the cemetery, and documented countless amount of driver injuries. So we've seen the statistics and how these blinking lights can help in other areas, especially in our township, and we thought it was a much-needed fix, if not anything, for that particular area. So thanks again for all your help, Officer Freed.
Any other comments from commissioners, staff, audience? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our agenda. Are there any comments from commissioners about public safety issues? Staff, audience? Please state your name and address.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. So the concern that I have about public safety is with our employees, we used to have a lot of fun passing out an 8.5 an 11 by 11 sheet that used to have a little box in it about this big, and it said, write all your complaints in the box and all the things you like anywhere outside the box. So pretty much in Abington, we've got a similar thing. There's a box like this for complaints. As Madam Chair knows, I have been trying for quite some time to engage the leaders who are responsible for public safety in issues of public safety to speak more than 3 minutes and to be able to have the privacy of not speaking in public about some things that involve specific people. I have not been afforded that. As you know, long before July, I have asked for that. In July, I started earnestly exchanging emails asking for your time, Commissioner Luker's time. If you have a township where there are safety issues and you have no place to report them, or a box like this, there are going to be problems. We've had many people here that came to this podium with safety issues who were told, yes, 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 see us afterwards, we'll help. Nobody helped. And that has happened multiple times, as you're aware. We also have many, many, many codes and laws that have been violated. And I'm coming to find out how people are violating them with such impunity, because there are immunities and other things that enable them to feel very bold about that. But those laws were put in place for our safety. And when they're violated, it's a serious issue that somebody usually will end up paying for. And I would like, I'm asking in public to have your time, President Luker's time, and to be able to discuss these issues and to forge a plan together to actually resolve them. Because, as you know, since the beginning of the time that I have been trying to do that, most all of them still remain. So I will ask that, and I will ask that you respond. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Bell?
Raymond Bell, 2076 Parkview Avenue. Let me just say one thing, that since I have been in this township, I have contacted the police department, I've contacted code enforcement, and I've always gotten a response, particularly from Officer Freed. And I just want to say that obviously there is a concern. I have a concern, I'm sure everyone does, of what is going on in this country in the safety of police officers. And there's not a day that goes by if I'm out that I don't say hello or thank you to a police officer. So I want to make that comment. I mean, I feel safe in my home. There are things that certainly I have a concern about, and I direct them to my ward leader who has responded to me. But I want to thank the police department for their guidance to me at times, even though we don't share eye to eye. I did prevent Officer Freed from staying at my home and wearing a uniform, so he's not getting free ride on that. But in seriousness, Chief Kelly, I want to thank you and the police department for your dedication. I've certainly I've gotten responses from everyone that I've reached out to. Sometimes I don't agree, but we need to agree to not agree. I want to thank the fire department as well and the second alarmers. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from staff, audience? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.
And now begins the Abington Township Public Affairs Committee meeting of November 30th, 2016. Can we please start with a roll call? Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Shriver.
Here.
Rothman.
Here.
Shalhoub.
Here. All right, everyone's here. Let us start with the approval of the minutes. This is a motion to approve the minutes of the November 2nd, 2016 Public Affairs Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Our Director of the Bureau of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Douglas Wendell. Director Wendell, how are things?
Things are going well. It's relatively quiet this time of year, obviously, but we are still moving forward with our conversion to ActiveNet. So it's going to be very important that once we complete this, which we're expecting to go live in January, that everyone now will have the opportunity to register online. However, the downside is that everyone who was ever registered will now have to re-register because you'll be doing it. If you're doing it online, you have to do it through a web address, since it's being hosted by the cloud now instead of a server inside of our office. There will be a lot of work to do with that, so hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement in the beginning of January, and everybody can start getting online and doing that, especially for the pools, since there's about 6,000 members of the pool. Other than that, you still can come into the office and register there at either Ardsley or here at the Manor, and we will help you with that. It might be a little bumpy at first, but it'll get smoothed out. The first time that we had a recreation program, we had about 12,000 members to the pools, and we had to do all the pictures over, which we will again have to do now. But with the numbers being a little bit lower this time, it should make it easier. We'll certainly do the best we can to help everybody go through this smoothly, but in the end, everybody will have a lot easier time registering for some programs, particularly ones that are very popular, like our playground program. You won't have to sit outside the office for 3 hours and wait in line. You can do it online at a specific time. So we're hoping everything will go much more smoothly in the coming years, but we think this is a very big step for us.
This is a huge and very welcome step, Doug. I know for those of us who have unflattering pool ID photos, it's kind of a chance to start life over again. Is there a possibility of both sending all of us kind of a clear info sheet when it's time for people to register for ActiveNet, so we can spread the word easily, just to, with simple instructions, a website and whatnot? And also, do you have, for those 6,000 folks who are already registered, do you have a database of email addresses for them?
We do, and we probably will still be able to use it, and we have been sending out emails. So what we will do is what we have been doing in the past. We'll send out emails to everybody. There is a little sheet already written up, and that will be sent out. It will be sent out to all the board members. It will certainly be, again, put on to Patch has been very good. Abington Patch has helped us with that. Although their information, they didn't take it quite as I had written it, so it was a little different.
It's
But-
match.
But, you know, it was close enough. And also, we'll put it into our website as well as our Facebook page. So we'll try and get it out as to many places as possible. We'll certainly give it to the board.
And if it's, I think certainly an e-blast to your existing list. I mean, I know you can't port those over to the new database, but an e-blast with the simple instructions for folks to follow one or two times well in advance of pool registration season, I think will go a long way, and all those other measures. So very much appreciated, Doug.
And we appreciate the board's help, because that's another way of getting it out to a lot of people. Because the other thing is, with the study that we're doing now, we're hoping that we'll get more members of the pool once we start finding out what it is maybe that's holding some people back, which is part of that survey that we're doing that was ended. We actually have a meeting on Friday with the company who did the survey to look at the results and their analysis of it. So we'll start moving forward with the actual feasibility study right after we do that. So we're hoping for a lot of things to happen in the next year or two.
Grants.
Positives.
Grants.
We'll certainly apply for them.
Fantastic. Doug, thank you so much. Commissioner Gillespie.
Yeah, thank you. Just a comment. I was at Ardsley Community Center last week meeting with some Cub Scouts, and I have to say, I've been in there a lot with that. It looked fantastic, so clean, so shiny. Used the ladies' room, perfect. I just wanted to comment on that. It really, really looked wonderful.
Well, thank you for that, because that's not a compliment we get a lot, but especially at the pools. But the custodian there, and we only have one, Jack, he does a phenomenal job of keeping the place clean, but also the daycare provides help with the bathroom cleaning, because they're the ones that probably use it 90% of the
It
time.
was spotless.
But we do make a big effort for that. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Commissioner Gillespie she's a very tough judge of bathroom cleanliness. I think she keeps a blog about it, so it's that's a huge
The whole place
compliment.
was so shiny, the floor.
Everybody
it was
has to use them
great.
some point in
Yeah,
time.
but it was just, the whole place was great.
Thank you.
Just wanted to tell you.
All right. And now for our formal agenda, starting with PA1 committee meetings schedule. This is a matter for discussion and consideration of scheduling all four of the big four committees, Public Works, Code Enforcement, Public Safety, and Public Affairs, on the same night of the week, starting in January 2017. So I know this matter came up at a full board meeting, so I'll open this for discussion. What does everybody think of having all four committee meetings on one night as our point of practice instead of the whole split between Monday, Wednesday? Commissioner Kalinowski.
I think it's a great idea.
That's okay, so do I. This is gonna-
As far as I'll go, I think
simple
it's a great
discussion
idea. It's a
item.
good, simple discussion. I think when we have bigger agendas and something that we need to meet on a different night, I think that could be advertised like we said, and I think that would work fine. I really do.
I concur.
You know.
Commissioner Rothman.
My opinion on this is that it will make things easier for the community, not only us. I think that I often get asked what meeting is on what night, and frankly, I look at my phone and answer which is on which, because there's too many things that start with the word public, and I might switch them around. But all kidding aside, I think if the community knows that there are committee meetings on the first Monday of the month, and the full board meeting on the second Thursday of the month, it's pretty easy for that information to be absorbed and processed and put on people's calendars if they would like to come. So I think that in the name of hearing more from our community and having them be involved in what we do, I think it's advantageous to them. As to us, I know there's many of us that have the desire to go to community events on certain nights, and pretty much if they're on the first Monday or Wednesday of the month, we can't go. This does open us up for more participation in the community as well. So I don't think it's going to do anything but help us do our job. So I'm definitely in favor of it.
I concur, and thank you. I'm just going to start with folks on the committee first. Commissioner Bowman.
Yeah, I'm generally in favor of it. It looks like you'd only need about 10 days or so if there was going to be a meeting that needed its own night, so to speak.
Yes, I mean, we can run a legal ad as long as it's 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and we probably need, about a week, notice beforehand to get it in the paper in time. So it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. under that scenario, I'm in favor of it, too.
Excellent. Commissioner Schreiber?
Are we looking at Monday or Wednesday?
Yeah, that's two questions I have for the committee. One is, assuming the committee's in favor of it, if you could offer a recommendation to the board on whether it be Monday night or Wednesday night, and secondly, when you want to implement the change, whether it be January or some other time.
Were there any holidays they tend to be Monday nights, so they might be...
Definitely don't tend to be Wednesday.
Wednesdays are problematic for certain holidays, like July 4th and some other holidays. It does come into play occasionally on Wednesdays, but yeah, Mondays are more commonly more prone to conflict.
Commissioner Myers?
Thank you.
I've thought this was a good idea. I don't even remember who introduced it, but I have often thought about this over the years, because some years it can be as many as 3 or 4 months that we do have all the meetings in a row. And just for example, there's a very good chance that this meeting will end before 8 o'clock. And now that we start our meetings, maybe, and now that we start our meetings at 7 o'clock, it really isn't so much later for anyone. And there was a time, and Wayne will remember this, that we were here every committee meeting night till 10, 11 o'clock. So things have been streamlined. And the one thing about this is that if it doesn't work, we can go back. It's not irreversible.
That's true.
And I think it's worth a try. Everyone still has the exact amount of time for comment, whether it's commissioner comment, staff comment, or public comment. The time is the same. And maybe the committees need to be juggled just a little bit based on their individual agenda, so that we're not keeping people here waiting a long time. And I think that we could all be flexible about that. Thanks.
Concur entirely. Any other opinions from commissioners? Commissioner Hecker.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. I'm also generally in favor of this. I mentioned this, I think, the last time it came up, that I think we have to pay careful attention to the scheduling of presentations at committees while we do this, so that they're staggered appropriately. I think if we get to the third or fourth committee meeting in a night and we've got 1 or 2 scheduled presentations, I think fatigue sets in, I think attention span sets in, and I think we want to be respectful both to the members of the committee but also the presenters that come in. So I think we'd want to be creative and proactive in how we think about that as part of a new scheduling process.
A good point indeed. My attention span actually increases with the number of presentations.
I'll pass on comment. Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman.
Commissioner DeSpacito and then Commissioner Roth.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. Are we set on a order of agenda for the 4 committees, or?
Historically, we followed the same pattern, but there's no reason we couldn't rotate those committees on a monthly basis. So different committees start off the meeting as opposed to waiting, in the case of public affairs, to the end of the session. So that'd be at the board's prerogative, and there's no requirement of any particular sequence.
Commissioner Rothman.
Yeah, I think that it could be at times problematic for the community if we're switching it up all the time. But if we have people that are coming because we know there's a particular issue that we're addressing that might be a hot button topic or something like that, I think that we want to allow ourselves the flexibility to have, if we have an audience of people that want to speak on a certain issue, the opportunity to speak early instead of having them stick around, because I don't think the community is able to pay attention to Commissioner Spiegelman for too long, and that could lead to problems in them communicating to us what they really want to get across after a few hours of that.
I'm going to miss you on this committee. Bye. No, that is actually a good point, and certainly it's a fairly regular practice that, if needed, I know just with having the 2 and 2 committees, that will switch the order based on certain agenda items, and that obviously that doesn't require any notice.
No, it does not.
Because we do it. Commissioner Schreiber.
Will it affect staff at all that have to be here on a night that they're not normally here?
You know, for staff, but staff's well compensated to be here, so it shouldn't be an issue. But for staff, the meetings may run longer, and it may entail a longer period of time being here, but it won't be an issue.
I mean, but some staff right now is committed to Monday, and some
And
are
other
committed to
staff is committed to
Wednesday.
Wednesday, so they'll all be here on whatever night the board chooses.
Okay.
So, Manager LaFever, what will be the procedure for actually bringing this up as an agenda item and voting on it? Would that be on public affairs and the full board agenda for Actually, next month, I know we don't have committee meetings.
Well, we could, I mean, the way the motion is phrased, it's for discussion and consideration. So if you want to make a recommendation this evening to move forward, we just have to determine when you want to suggest it be implemented. We can do it as early as January. The one problem we have, the calendar that's already out there through March shows the meetings on Monday and Wednesday. So we'd have to do extensive public information so people aren't confused on the actual dates.
All right, I mean,
Excuse me, January, there's no committee meetings.
January, there are no committee meetings anyway.
So it would be February, March.
If we implemented it starting in January, we'd really be implementing it starting in February, and the only 2 months that would not jibe with the current calendar would be February and March. And by the time the new calendar comes out, realistically, we'd be talking about just February. Or we could choose to implement it starting in March or April.
And are any of those February, March, or April ones that are already combined anyway?
No.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No, we had many combined this year, but the beginning of next year, we don't have any. Those 2 months, we don't have any scheduled to be combined.
So that would be January 30th and February 1st, which, according to my calendar, don't have any holidays or noted community events on those dates.
What's the next one after that?
That would be February 27th and March 1st. So you're looking at a date in the preceding month for those committee meetings.
Which is always kind of confusing anyway.
I mean, if I may, while I am in favor of this, since we do have the information out there and it could impact if people wanted to come to our meetings, that it might be worth us considering starting it for March instead of doing it then. I think, I mean, in my opinion, I don't know if it really is going to matter that much anyway, based on the attendance we typically get, but it might be worth considering giving that extra month to the community to adjust to that.
What does the committee and what do commissioners who are present in general feel about starting in March?
When does the new calendar actually start? April or March?
It's May.
April.
April.
I have,
Goes through April, okay.
The old calendar goes to April, but generally the new calendar comes.
There's an overlap.
It has April as its first month.
oh, and it recreates.
So it would only be 2 months extra if we wait and get it on the calendar.
Commissioner Bowman.
I don't know, it sounds like you just have to advertise those 4 meetings, those a change in 2 of those meetings, right?
Right.
I don't think it's a big problem based on, like you said, what we're seeing here. I think people can find out. If they have any questions, they call the township, they can easily find out, or we can put it on our website. So I would just start it in January if everyone's willing.
And again, starting in January really means starting in February because
Right.
we never, that's not going to change, that January and August are the months with no committee meetings anyway.
Right.
So thoughts on starting in February? Well, I think Commissioner Bowman's in favor of it. Does anyone have an issue or concern about starting in February? All right.
Even though I made those comments, no, I just thought it was something that we should see if anybody did have a strong opinion about.
And selecting the Wednesday before the board meeting as our committee meeting night, is that something everyone is comfortable with?
So the second, say that again?
So it would be the...
First Wednesday.
It wouldn't necessarily be the first Wednesday of the month. It would be the Wednesday before the board meeting. So that could
Okay.
be...
So a week before on the block.
Wednesday, right. The Wednesday of the week before the board meeting.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if we had to make changes or have another discussion between then,
Yeah, we need.
Yeah,
the time.
not the night,
Change, yeah,
not the
not-
night before.
yeah.
That's too much to ask of residents and us and everybody. So, Commissioner Bowman?
I'd prefer Wednesday, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wednesday versus Monday, if only because of the holiday issue, I think we have a sense of consensus on that. All right, well then, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, and then we'll open it up to township staff and the public. All right, so this is a motion to schedule the 4 major committee meetings: Public Works, Code Enforcement, Public Safety, and Public Affairs, for one night, specifically the Wednesday of the week preceding the monthly board meeting, beginning with committee meetings in February of 2017, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Counselor, did I format that okay? That was completely off the cuff. All right, I think are there any other comments or commissioners? Otherwise, we'll open up to township
We
staff.
didn't vote. We just didn't. Did we vote? There
It
was
was
a second.
It was moved and seconded. We had to make a
Oh,
motion. Now
okay,
we have
so
to
now we're
open it
fine.
up.
Okay.
Because now it has become a motion. You see. Trust me, I know.
Don't mind me.
Staff, all right, members of our audience.
Laura Lane, 1431 Bryant Lane. So I actually would, it's a shame we didn't get to speak before you made the motion, but I would think that it would be fairly important to keep the same order of the meetings. Particularly, we had some nights where we had, something like 20 items in two committees. There were maybe 20 items on the agenda. That can happen. Or you can have 5 items where one is a very, very long item. And when that happens, if you have a regular order, so you have, like we usually have, Public Works, Code Enforcement, and you know what the order is, you actually can come a little late for Code Enforcement, but you could easily come a half an hour late, or if you saw the agenda was long, you could come quite a bit late. So if you keep shuffling the order, people can't do that. And I would really recommend that. And then you also could conceivably say 7 o'clock for Public Works and Code Enforcement, 7:30, because there's very few times that, this was a very short agenda tonight, very few times you get done in a half an hour. So you could say 7:30 for Public Safety, Public Affairs. So I would really recommend that you keep them in the same order for that reason. And the same thing with moving the hot button ones up, and I do understand that the hot button people don't want to stay for a long, long time, but somebody who only has 3 minutes that they want to say on a small thing doesn't want to wait through 20 people speaking either. So, that's an equal concern both ways and would probably be better the other way. I also wanted to say that if you alleviated your rules a little bit and allowed people to speak when there's a long agenda in the beginning of the meeting on any topic, that would also be more resident-friendly. And my preference would be the Monday night, only because it gives you more time between the committee meeting and that 1 week away where the vote is being taken. So it gives you 2 extra days, actually, if you have research or you have people you need to gather on a topic. So I would recommend the Monday for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your feedback. All right, Mr. Bell?
Mr. Bell will only have one night a week to come visit.
Name and address, please, Mr. Bell, because I might not know who you are, or where on Parkview you
Raymond
live.
Bell, 2076 Parkview Avenue. I just have, I want to understand something, that the proposal can be changed to accommodate, the length of, for example, Public Works may have a long agenda and what have you. Is that correct?
That is correct. We can, if there's, with a certain amount of, with basically a week's notice, because that gives the proper amount of time for all the legally required notices in the paper and everything. We can resplit them up across 2 nights.
Okay.
Or even split, sometimes we might have 3 committees with a short agenda and only 1 committee with a gigantic agenda. So there is that flexibility.
Thank you. And the other question I have is for the township solicitor. With these changes, is there any chance of any infringement on the First Amendment rights of people speaking from the community?
Any chance of infringement on First Amendment rights for people speaking if we make these changes?
No, and also this setting is not governed by the First Amendment. It's governed by the Sunshine Act and the Open Meetings Law. You are allowed to set certain restrictions in here, but no one's rights would be infringed by making these changes.
Thank you.
No rights infringed. Let it be known. All right. I think we're ready for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. PA1 is going to actually be an item, and it's going to move forward for the full board. And our second and final item of the night, PA2, ordinance number 2133, an amendment to the Human Relations Commission ordinance. This is a motion to advertise ordinance number 2133, which will amend the Township Human Relations ordinance by expanding the membership of the commission from 5 to 7 members, and I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Before, if it's okay, before we hear from the members of the committee and board, we have a guest, a representative, a fine representative from our excellent Human Relations Commission, Joanne Kleiner-Levin. Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. I'm just really here to answer any questions if anybody has them as to why we need additional members.
Why do we need additional members?
I'm glad you asked.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Rothman, by the way.
Very nice of you to ask. I've had a long day, and this is my second meeting in a row, so I have some notes, and I'm a little... First of all, we have not had any complaints to date. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we're starting to see our role more as community outreach and community education. And we've gotten involved in a lot of programs with that. We recently, actually very recently, just received our third grant from Jenkintown Rotary. This is the third year in a row that we're getting it. And what we're planning to do this year is we're going to be getting training from the Department of Justice on facilitating community policing meetings, like the one that we had, I think it was late last spring at Roslyn Elementary. I participated in the panel discussion there with Chief Kelly, and we had spoken to him about would he like us to be able to facilitate some more meetings like that, and he said yes, and we have a grant that will, Department of Justice doesn't charge us for the training, but it will enable us, the grant will enable us to get materials to distribute and that sort of thing. So we go out to places in the community to do a PowerPoint, to put on a program. We are probably going to be going to the Keswick Theater after the holidays. They've asked us to come and give a little presentation to their employees there. We did a program last year with high school students at the Y, and it culminated, we actually worked with the parents and the kids, and it culminated in taking them up to Harrisburg in June to Senator Haywood's office. And it was a really good day. The parents came. The kids were fabulous. They were fascinated by Emeritus guide dog, and they had a great time with the dog, and it was really, really good. But it takes our time to do this, and a lot of the times when we go out in the community, it's during the day. And with the exception of Shelley Rosenberg, the rest of us work during the day, so it's not always so easy to do that. And having additional members would help us with that as well. We also participate in other human relations commissions. We participate in the Tri-State HRC, and they have done some programs. They're starting to do more community outreach as well. They were previously meeting on a 6-week basis. They're now changing to a monthly basis because they're concerned that there's more incidents of hate speech and that sort of thing. They're changing to a monthly basis. They've done some programs here that we've helped with. One of our members is also on the Montgomery County Advisory Council and attends meetings with them. Other members of our commission can attend as guests and observers and participate in their programs. And the other reason is because we started out as 5 strangers on the commission in 2012, and we are now 5 very close friends, which is wonderful. But we would like to see more diversity on our commission, maybe have some new ideas, some new perspective. Most of the other local commissions do have more than 5 members, so we thought it would just be beneficial all the way around. And there's really no cost to the township because we don't have a budget. We don't spend any money except for money that we're given through grants. So there's no real downside to the township for it.
Thank you very much, Joanne. And of course, thank you for all the work that you and the other members of the commission do. Do any members of the board have other questions for Joanne, or general questions or comments? Commissioner Schreiber.
I have, I guess, comment. I guess it would be a comment. When we formed the board, what was it, 2012?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We had excellent resumes come in, and it was really hard to decide, and we did get a really nice group, I thought. But I'm wondering if we still have those, and I'm not sure that the people would still be interested, but there were several that we were really kind of, just having a hard time deciding if we should include them. Not that we shouldn't open it up, but maybe those would be people that we had expressed, and they should be considered as part of that group that is considered.
Or at least contacted to let them know.
I can verify that tomorrow morning, but I believe we still have the resumes in my office, and I'll be happy to make a list and circulate it with the committee, and we can reach out to the applicants at that time and see if they're interested. It's not a problem at all.
And when we, with some of the other committees, volunteer committees, they have come up with their own process to kind of do the interviewing, and then they make a suggestion. But with this committee, because it was just starting out, we as commissioners had formed a group to interview, so we might need to talk about process of how we would choose those other two members if this is to pass. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. Other comments? Commissioner Kalinowski.
Thank you for all you do. I guess my question was, and Lori, I'll bounce off you. Do you have people that you would recommend to join your commission, or are you looking for new ideas, new thoughts?
We're looking for new ideas and new thoughts.
I like that idea.
There was a meeting, it was last year, and there were some people who expressed interest in joining and in participating. So if it's opened up or advertised or whatever, they may well come forward also. But we wanted to see some new faces.
Okay.
One of the people actually at that meeting who expressed interest was somebody who we had interviewed in the past.
Okay.
So I think we already have her, I believe we have her resume.
Any other questions, comments from the committee? From commissioners in general? From township staff? From residents? Joanne, thank you again. Thank you. Stick around in case I need you to answer another question.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. So I think I saw one of the ones on TV, and it looked like a very good program that they were running. And I'm not sure that was the one that you were running, but the audio was terrible. So I'm hoping that the programs that they run, they'll get good television coverage and good audio, and get it on the channel so it can be shared, to lots of other people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let us vote. All in favor?
I have another question. I'm sorry, because I know you have to go back to them.
John was just getting comfortable.
When you were talking before about the other HRCs that in the tri-state area that you join up with, have they had cases that you're aware of? I know that there's been a higher incident of hate speech, as you said, and things like that, and probably hate crimes as well. But have there been things that were covered in their various local ordinances that you know of? Man, you might not know an answer to that.
I don't know. I know Lower Merion has had some. Other than that, I'm not sure. And at one point, the state HRC had talked to us about a work-sharing agreement, and we were supposed to enter into a written agreement with them to mediate some of their overflow cases. They were doing that with all the local HRCs, and so far we haven't seen anything from them, because most of the stuff goes up to the state level. But they wanted to send some back down to us. Now, we haven't seen them, so I'm not really sure, what the status is of that.
Actually, they talked about it at that meeting here, too, now that you mention that.
Right.
So if that would be another reason to possibly increase the size.
Exactly.
When I first saw this, I was like, do we really need to increase the size? Although it's great to have more volunteers. But the more I hear you talking, and now that you bring up again, and I remember them saying that about the state sending some down, that...
It's really because we want to do our community outreach, and it's hard for those of us who work during the day. I mean, Meredith works downtown. Sometimes I can take off and go to these things, but it can be difficult, and if we have more people, and as I said, we really would like to see more diversity. We're a diverse township, and we need to represent that. I think it would be easier for us to go out and do our community outreach, and we've been really successful with that. People really enjoyed the program, and liked it, so I think it would just make it easier for us to do more of that.
Okay. And during the So one of the things, if we are interviewing people, that you would be interested in is people that have some flexibility in the daytime hours.
Very
Okay.
much so.
That would be a interview question.
Short interview question,
Okay.
yeah.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you again, Joanne.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. President?
Lori, you might be able to refresh my memory, or Michael. When we first initiated or formed the committee back in 2012, did we put a time limit on the duration they would serve, or a rotational basis? I'm trying to remember the verbiage.
So different people have different, like, one person is 1 year, one
Right.
person is 3 years.
Well,
but
we
kind
were
of-
staggered initially.
That's what
and
I
now-
thought.
Yeah, we were initially staggered, and now we're still staggered, but we all have 3-year terms.
It's a 3-year term, okay. Has anyone expressed an interest in coming off by any chance?
Not so far.
Okay, good. Well, that's a good thing then.
Yeah.
Right.
As I said, we started out as 5 strangers, and now
'Cause
we're
I
5 close friends.
Because I thought it was about 5 years, and I didn't know whether this was going to conflict with bringing new members in versus someone coming off at the termination of their duration of their serving on the board, so,
I think we've all been reappointed once.
okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's definitely the case.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, President Luker. All right. All those in favor of PA2?
Aye.
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 Opposed? PA2 passes. That concludes our formal agenda, and now we'll open up for general questions or comments regarding the public affairs auspices. Yeah, auspices. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. So what we just did there with the combining the meetings, is it possible for citizens to have input before you formulate the motion? Because after the input, you didn't ask anybody else if they thought maybe that longer time between Monday and Thursday might be more ideal now that they heard that thought, and you just went right into approving the motion. So
Part of the reason that I wanted to make it into a motion was because otherwise it was a discussion item just for the members, I mean, technically for the members of the committee, for other commissioners, but by making it into a motion, it specifically opened it up for public comment.
Okay, so is it not something that you can take public comment before you formulate that motion, and then allow public comment after you formulate it, in case you formulate it differently?
I guess in theory.
Okay, so, I mean, it's just a thought, because, you know...
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what, was I...
There has to be a motion and a second before you go to public comment.
Okay.
Because up until then, there's nothing on the floor, and there's no action item before the board for members of the public to comment on, because they are supposed to comment on items that are before the board before you're about to make a decision on them. So the proper way to do it procedurally is a motion, a second, and then open it up to comments from the floor.
Thank you for preventing me from just making stuff up. Commissioner Rothman, did you want to add to that or further correct me?
Add to you making stuff up, or is your question, is there an opportunity for us to discuss your ideas
so
once?
if not before, then maybe after.
Well, we all, I think we all feel pretty comfortable chiming in if that had changed anything, and I don't know if you did it this time, but typically the chair says, any other comments from the board? So if that's what you're getting at, then I think we do already have.
I didn't get that sense, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that we do that, but if we don't, I think everybody feels pretty comfortable chiming in on comments at that point.
I'll have to see it on rewind, but I think it kind of went right into, okay, are we ready to approve the motion without saying, are there any, additions or whatever. So, yeah, that would also solve it, is that you make the motion and then we come up, and then after we've said anything, you just double check, does anybody want to concur with something that was said. The other thing that I wanted to say tonight is we are still having a major problem with how the meetings are chaired and resident comments. I was cut off literally 14 times in one supposed 3-minute. It went obviously longer, but it wasn't on my behalf, okay? And never during that time where I was interrupted 14 times did I actually get my thoughts completely out? And that was the intent of interrupting me, because there were things that somebody didn't want to have said. Not appropriate, a violation of our rights to speak. And I would like to see that corrected. I would like to see some real decorum from the chair, so that the chair is not commenting, the chair is not, so we've already talked about the chair having to leave, but also in this last one that happened just at the last meeting, at the code enforcement meeting, I said one thing, and then the chair stopped and said, well, let's ask that as a question to Solicitor Clark. I hadn't asked the question of Solicitor Clark. I would like to get my whole thoughts out first, and I would like for the chair to know what my question is. I am glad to have it answered. During that time also, I was told again and again and again to put my questions in writing and they'd be answered. Okay? They are not going to be answered. I got no, no, no. First I just got a big no, and then I got a no, 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 not going to do this, not going to do this, already answered that. Well, the already answered that did not come with the law that says that this property was supposed to go to land development. Okay? That was never discussed before. So, there are many things that I have been told that are not true. So, absolutely not true. Do we have any documents? No, there are no documents. No documents, no documents. When I persisted, there was a slew of documents. So I have often been told things that aren't true. It is important for a resident to be able to persist, and I persist politely, but I do not back away from the need to understand, to have understanding, and to say, okay, here's the law, here's what you did, why is that happening? So I would like to see if I'm told to stop my comments because I'm going to get the questions answered if I put them in writing, I'd like to see that happen. So,
this doesn't count as one of those 14 interruptions, but just if you could wrap up quickly, because you're
yes,
you're
thank
3
you.
minutes over.
Yeah, I appreciate your patience. So, it's a concern. And the only other thing I'd like to say is I think Solicitor Clark just said tonight that the U.S. Constitution doesn't rule here at all. The freedom of speech doesn't
No.
rule here at all, or did I misunderstand
that's
that?
not what I
That it-
said.
You misunderstood.
How did that go?
Well, you were here. and
Yeah, I
so
was
that's
here,
not
but
what
that's
said.
what I said. I
The issue
think
is
I
not-
understood.
The issue is not a First Amendment issue. First Amendment is not what governs public comment at a board meeting.
But it can, right? In other words, if I say something...
Claimant, I have neither the time nor the inclination to
Let's see how
explain
long
the
she can
First
keep
Amendment.
talking.
So there's a case called Drago versus Charlottesville, and US 42, I think it's 1943, applied there in the First Amendment speech because he got up and said something that they said was defamatory. So I'm not sure if I'm understanding you, that it can't apply in some situations here. Will you be willing to explain that later, after the meeting?
I already explained it during the meeting. It's not a First Amendment issue. It's an issue regarding public comment. And that's what governs what happens here. First Amendment allows you to say things regarding content. It doesn't allow you to get up and speak endlessly at a meeting. It
I
involves
understand.
content. The conduct of public comment is governed by the Sunshine Act, not by the First Amendment.
Oh, okay. I understand. You're
Thank you,
talking about a
Solicitor
specific thing. So there are issues at times where the First Amendment also can come to play. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke, okay. All right. Anything from anybody else? All right. I think this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
At 8 o'clock.